One of the most powerful devices and one of the devices I bought in recent period is the ROG Xbox LIX you see behind me. It's an extremely powerful platform, I enjoy it, I play a lot on it, but sometimes there is a device that comes along that surprises you, to be fair. When the PlayStation Portal was first announced, a lot of people didn't really know what to think of it. Some called it unnecessary, others thought it was too niche, and my personal opinion was that I really did not find the use case for it. At the time, you still needed your PlayStation 5 attached and on, and it wasn't really more than a remote play device. But with the latest update and all the updates that went before it, it now enables you to use Portal as a standalone device. After spending real time with the Black Edition of the PlayStation Portal, got it in my hands right over here, I have something to say. This device is actually far more impressive than people currently give it credit for. The design, the screen, the ergonomics, the lightweight, the streaming performance, and now the cloud streaming feature makes it genuinely an interesting piece of PlayStation hardware. So today we're going to do a full review. Let's dive into it. Let's start with the design, because that's the first thing that actually stands out. The PlayStation Portal is exactly what it is. It's a DualSense controller. Here you got a controller, and here you got the design of the PlayStation Portal. It's actually just a controller split in half in the middle, and that's also what the ROG Xbox LIX makes so powerful in terms of design. It's an Xbox controller cut in half, and this is just a PlayStation 5 controller cut in half. And honestly, that's genius. Sony didn't try to reinvent a wheel here. Instead, they took one of the most comfortable controllers ever made and simply built a device around it or in the middle of it, whatever you want to look at it. What you end up with is something that really feels instantly familiar. You don't have to get used to the ergonomics or where the buttons are. If you own a PlayStation 5 controller, or you know what it is and ever felt one, then this will feel right at home. The grips are large, comfortable, the triggers and buttons feel identical to the PS5 controller, and because of that, long play sessions are absolutely no problem. A lot of handheld devices sacrifice ergonomics for portability. Portal doesn't. You can buy fantastic pieces of hardware cases to put that thing in, so the Portal doesn't really look at sacrifice at all. Even after playing for an hour or two on this device, it still feels natural in your hands, and it's also very lightweight, which helps you with fatigue during longer gaming sessions. And to be absolutely fair, the ROG Xbox LIX, although I can really play long sessions on it because of the ergonomics, an Xbox controller split in half, after a short while you do feel and you do notice that the ROG Xbox LIX has some weight to it. With the PlayStation Portal, this thing is so lightweight, it's just like holding a very thin iPad. The overall design is sleek, minimal, and I must say, very PlayStation. Now, let's talk about this fantastic screen, because this is where the Portal really shines. The Portal features an 8-inch LCD display with 1080p and 60 Hz refresh rate. And that might not sound revolutionary on paper, but in practice, I must say, kudos here. The screen looks sharp, bright, and large enough to feel immersive. For handheld gaming, especially, well, for me I must say, an 8-inch display is actually the sweet spot. It's big enough to appreciate detail, but still compact enough to keep the device portable. So games like Resident Evil, Spider-Man, Horizon, or even indie titles look incredibly crisp on the screen. The colors are vibrant and the contrast is solid. Is it OLED? No, and I think that's also the biggest let down with the amount of money you pay for an ROG Xbox LIX. But in this term as well, it's not OLEDs, but honestly, the screen still looks really, really good. Now let's talk about the setup. The setup process is actually very straightforward, but it can take a little time, right? Here's roughly how it works. First, connect the Portal to a Wi-Fi network. It's pretty straightforward. Just follow the steps, and that shouldn't be an issue in 2026, right? Then, Link it to your PlayStation account, just follow the steps. You can do it with a QR code, you can do it with your app, connect it to your PlayStation 5. Once that is done, Portal essentially mirrors your PS5 remotely, right? So everything you see and do on your PlayStation 5 is mirrored. So if you just make any adjustments on the screen, you will see that happening on your TV as well. However, there's one thing to keep in mind. The device may need software updates during the whole setup process. Depending on how long your PlayStation Portal was in a store before you picked it up. In my case, the whole setup and updates and installation took roughly around 35 minutes. Comparing that to an ROG Xbox LAX, that was pretty mild. And most of this time was just spent installing update and restarting and actually just waiting for the screen to come back on. Once everything is finished, in updating terms, the system was ready to go, and from that moment on, it's been actually an incredibly smooth ride. The PlayStation Portal can also be used independently of your PlayStation 5. So on the top left, you can either choose to mirror your PlayStation 5 and turn it on remotely, or you can use it as a standalone device and stream with a premium subscription directly from the cloud. But in terms of setup, there is not more to say than this. It's straightforward, just follow a few steps and you're good to go. Now, the following topic is really important for this device. Up until recently, the PlayStation Portal could only be used in combination with a PlayStation 5 and therefore as a very somewhat expensive remote play device, because it wasn't anything more than that. And yes, it just cost you a little bit under $250, but at the end of the day, it was really a remote play device. But now, with recent updates, the PlayStation Portal has become much more interesting, if you will. As said, originally the device was designed only to stream directly from your PlayStation 5, meaning you needed to turn the PlayStation 5 on somewhere in order to play. And you can do that remotely, just follow a few steps on your PlayStation 5 and then it's connected. But Sony introduced that major update. Now you can stream directly from the cloud. You basically have a portal to access through a PlayStation Plus Premium the whole PlayStation library that is presented, not needing a physical console anymore. So even people who do not own a PlayStation 5 or are not attached in any way, shape or form to the PlayStation environment, you can just buy this, set up an account and you're good to go. So you don't need that PS5 anymore. As long as you have a stable internet connection and a PlayStation Plus Premium subscription, you're basically good to go and you can access the games directly. So this turns this portal into something closer to a dedicated PlayStation Cloud handheld. That's a big shift. It makes this device useful for a much larger audience, but also the use case for people that already own a PlayStation 5 is getting wider through this update. Kudos to PlayStation for that. Now let's actually briefly discuss streaming performance. One of the biggest questions people always have about the Portal is simple. Is there any lag? Very valid question, because this device needs a very stable internet connection to actually perform. In my experience, none that I could notice. Over a stable Wi-Fi connection, the streaming has been extremely smooth. Extremely smooth. Controls feel responsive and the input delay is so minimal that I couldn't even notice it. Was it there in some... Maybe yes. So, but it didn't hinder me any way, shape or form in playing the games I wanted to play. Visually, the stream remains very stable, but of course this will depend on your network. And this is the disclaimer I need to make. I have tested it in my own home only up until now. I will test it more when I go on the road, and I will take this device with me and then see even if it does in hotel Wi-Fi's or on the road. Let me see. I even saw some clips passing by that people are doing it over a hotspot with their phone. I haven't tested it yet, but what I can say, if your Wi-Fi setup is strong, that will make the difference, because when the connection is solid, the Portal genuinely feels like you're playing locally. I'm not kidding you. And that is a pretty impressive accomplishment. The setup of a game, if you choose a game and say stream the game, it takes max 1 minute to get that thing on your screen, and then I'm stretching it. There were instances within 20-30 seconds I had the game on my screen. So kudos again, PlayStation. Next up, internal hardware, and that's pretty easy because the backend is just a very flat iPad. I'm looking at my screen to see if you guys can look at it as well. There is really not much to say about it. It's a 1080p 60Hz display with some technology in the backend, but that's only aimed for streaming efficiency. Internally, the PlayStation Portal is built specifically for low latency streaming. It isn't a standalone gaming console like that ROG you see in the back. Instead, Sony is really focusing on streaming efficiency, wireless adaptability and stability, and low input delay. The device includes dedicated networking hardware designed to maintain a stable video stream from either your PS5 or the cloud we just discussed. Combined with the dual sensor controller hardware, including adaptive triggers and including the haptic feedback of the controllers, the experience is really very PlayStation, and that's really the goal here, but that's the only thing we have to say about it. There is no internal storage, and all that thing has been cut out, also making the device very lightweight, obviously, but it's really focused on having that streaming and wireless stability and efficiency. After spending now about a week and a half with this PlayStation Portal Black Edition, what is the verdict? It's a verdict that makes more sense the more you're using it. The design is fantastic, feels very much at home. The screen is excellent for handheld play. The ergonomics make long sessions comfortable. And with the new cloud streaming update, it becomes a far more versatile device than before. If you already have a PS5, then this is a fantastic companion device. If you don't, it's now also a PlayStation Cloud gaming handheld. So for under $250 and on top of that your monthly premium subscription, you have a whole catalog of games sitting right before you. Either way, the PlayStation Portal is surprisingly impressive in terms of technology, despite maybe the lack thereof internally, but it really does good what it's aiming for. I'm just letting me know in the comments, guys. Are you using the PlayStation 5? Yes or no? Are you interested in a Portal? Do you own a Portal? And what's your view on cloud streaming? Because that's really increasing and nowadays with the new technologies. Let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. Woman 6 out. See you on the battlefield.